Hey, what is going on everybody? It is Nolan, or the Optimistic Gamer here, and welcome back to another tree tutorial. In the last tree episode, we built some custom spruce trees that you can see right here. Today, we are doing some custom oak trees. Now, because of the nature of oak trees and their lack of symmetry, this is going to be a lot different than this tutorial. This is going to be partially a tutorial and partially a how to build oak trees, if you will, because I could give you a block by block tutorial, but it would be very complicated. So I'm just gonna give you some general tips and techniques to creating a great looking oak tree. So go ahead and grab out some oak wood, grab some oak leaves, you can even grab some oak fence if you would like, and you can use any type of wood and leaf, but I'm using normal oak for this. You can also do this with dark, and I realized I grabbed jungle leaves, and I meant to grab dark oak. There we go. So let's go ahead and start with the roots. Now, oak trees tend to be very large and just have lots of roots and just a large base to them. So what I like to do is with my oak wood, and not logs, I'm not using logs for this, I'm only using wood so I don't get the exposed logs. I like to just kind of place a little bit of a base, maybe like this, something about like that, maybe 6 or 7 blocks in this shape, and then I like to have some roots kind of going into the ground, and then these just kind of spread all about. I have different shapes and patterns to this, and something about like this. So I'm going to go ahead and pause here if you would like to build this block for block so that you can kind of see how that looks. But that's roughly what I do. And then I'm just going to kind of build this up where I see fit. So I'm going to leave a couple gaps here and there, vary the heights of the tree, maybe have the trunk be somewhat thick for a little bit and then kind of taper off towards the top. I might even have a couple more oak logs just like this. And then once I kind of get it to a natural looking shape here in the middle, then I can extend it up for the height that I want this tree to be. So that's maybe 12 blocks in height. So then we can go ahead and add some branches. Now for this, I'm just going to kind of work out in every direction from the middle of the log, and I'm going to vary the heights a little bit, just like this. So that's roughly how that looks, maybe 3 to 5 blocks in every direction, moving fluidly as trees do. And then we can add some additional branches. So we can place corner diagonals like this, where they're just hardly connected. And then we can just place some regular diagonals, something like that. A couple more over here on this side. Maybe about like this. And then we can even do a couple at the top as well, just to change things up. And the nice thing about using the wood instead of the logs is we don't have those open log faces, regardless of whether these get placed sideways or normally. And then we can also extend some branches beneath these as well. So it's just about creating very fluid and dynamic shapes. You can already see how this sort of looks like a tree. It almost looks like a dead tree in a way, and that is exactly what we want, because from here we can start placing on the leaves, and we can also put a couple of oak fences here and there as well, just for a few more branches, give it a little bit extra detail. So we're just going to sprinkle these in throughout this build. It really doesn't matter where you do this, but just be random and spontaneous. I don't know if I said that for the spruce trees, but that's what it's all about. It's just randomness where you think a block might fit well. Something like that. We can also put in a couple fences down here if we would like. There we go. So now we have just a mess of wood and fences. So when we place our leaves, we're going to start from the middle, and we are going to fill in the middle, just very tight and compact, surrounding every block here in the middle, because that's how trees are. They are very full in the middle, and then they get a little more thin as those branches work out. So just kind of filling in all around the middle trunk here, covering up a lot of that wood that we see. Just like this. There we go. So now we sort of have this half tree shape, I guess. Maybe we'll do something like that. And this almost looks like a tree in and of itself. If we took all those branches off, if we took down that trunk a little bit, if we just had the leaves and this wood going into those leaves, we would kind of have a tree already. But now it's kind of time, well, it is time to kind of expand this out a little bit. Now, one of the ways that you can do this is just by filling in the leaves on each of the branch, just like what we did before. Or you can kind of go around and connect these leaves in a very fluid pattern, going all the way around the edge. This will also help you give a better idea for the geometry of this tree, how much shade it will produce right down here if you have shaders, of course. And we are just gonna, again, be very, very fluid with this. Not too many straight lines and not too many single diagonals like this. We don't want that. We just want natural looking shapes. So wherever you see fit, just kind of blend those leaves together. So that's kind of the shape that I have. And now I can go in and fill in that middle row with leaves. And this is kind of right at that middle point of this tree. So now I have completely filled in all of those leaves in that middle row. And then I can work those leaves around those remaining branches. Now, just because I cover all of these up doesn't mean that we're gonna be done and it's gonna look good, because you will see that, well, it doesn't. It still needs some work, but this will be a great starting point for us. So just kind of cover up all of those fences and the wood on all sides. But go ahead and leave them exposed underneath, because some of these we actually can leave as they are. We can leaf them as they are. I'm just gonna have a tree pun in every single tree tutorial that I do moving forward, so I hope that doesn't drive you away. And then we can just kind of connect each of these rows as we did on that level before, how we kind of went around. We can do that once again. So you can see I kind of went around with all of those leaves, and then again I am going to fill in between all of those leaves with more leaves, and really filling in that tree, getting that natural looking shape. And then once again we have some of these leaves sticking up. We can go ahead and just be very fluid with our placements here, filling in all of those leaves in between. And we will fill in those leaves once again. And the biggest thing is just going to be filling in everything one row at a time and not stepping back to look at it until you are finished. That's when you can step back and take a look and say, okay, what doesn't look good about this tree? What do I need to change? Because if you look at it before it's finished, it's, of course, obviously not really gonna have much of a tree shape to it. So that's why just kind of fill in everything. I think I'll have it flat on the top, a couple more leaves there, maybe bring those out a little bit, and there we go. So if we step back, I'm really happy with how the top of this tree looks. Of course though, on the inside, we're a little bit flat. So we're just going to slowly work in with this shape, not necessarily covering the wood, but just going a couple rows in from where those leaves were. And we are just going to work our way around, all the way around the edge, and then we will fill in the middle. And now we have something looking like that. So we are making great progress. Let's do it again. Let's just keep working our way in towards that trunk, moving a couple layers in each time. And once again, that is how that looks. And we can do that a couple more times until we've kind of reached the trunk and the leaves are pretty tight up against it. Now what you don't want to do is just go in by one full block on every single layer. Otherwise the tree's going to look very symmetrical and not super realistic. So you want to kind of mix it up a little bit, bring some different patterns in, things like that. And we are just about there. I think maybe 1 or 2 more rows here on the inside of this tree. And we'll put a couple more leaves around the trunk here. And there we go. We now have a finished oak tree. Now what we can also do is kind of wreck some of these logs here, make the trunk a little bit skinnier as it gets into the leaves themselves. But I'm pretty happy with how this has turned out. Now what we can also do, similar to what we did in that previous tree tutorial, now we can go through and break some holes in these leaves and give the tree some more shape and texture overall. Again, this will help it feel not so uniform all the way across and give it just overall more detail and a more natural look. There we go. If it looks too boxy anywhere or too Minecrafty, like right here, it looks a little flat. What I might do is take off a couple of those leaves and kind of round it out. There we go. I'm a lot happier with how that looks. Maybe even right here, just take off those leaves right there. Maybe even get rid of that wood, and that really kind of rounds it out well, to an extent. There we go. And that is pretty much how you build an oak tree, so we can even extend a few more of these fences now. Once you get an idea of how the tree is built and how it kind of leans, then you can really go in and build your roots accordingly. Just like that. But again, these trees are all about being spontaneous, being fluid with your placements, random. That is everything. If you are not random, if you're too uniform, well then your tree is going to look very symmetrical. If you want, you can also go ahead and add a bee nest or 2 to the tree. Go ahead and put one on that side and then maybe one hanging from that branch right in there. And there we go. That is a finished oak tree. I think I might do one more leaf right there. Perfect. And that's pretty much how you do an oak tree of any size. It just depends on your scale. If you want to do a smaller one, which we can do real quick, of course we will just follow that similar pattern, except maybe instead of 13 blocks, it's just 6. Build out a couple branches in all directions here. Nothing too special or fancy. Just like this. Again, be very natural with it. Like that, perfect. And then we can just kind of go around the edges. Well, actually, let's fill in around the middle of that trunk first, where we know that there are going to be leaves for certain. And then we can just kind of go around the edges here, just like that. And we will fill in between all of those leaves. There we go. And then we're just going to kind of work our way around the top, placing those leaves around all of the wood, and then kind of bring those leaves around in a natural looking way. And there we go, just like that. And then underneath the tree as well. Filling in, moving towards that center each time. Just like this. Nothing to it. It's a very mindless task. Don't think about it as you place those leaves. Just place them. And then we can go in, add a little bit of texture here and there, spice things up a little bit. And we have another custom tree. So I really hope you enjoyed these tutorials. I hope they were helpful. I know they're not block by block, but a block by block tutorial of these trees would be a nightmare to do. So again, just take those tips into consideration. Be fluid, be spontaneous, be random, and most importantly, be mindless. Don't think about it, just place. But if you enjoyed this tutorial, definitely hit that thumbs up button and make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss out on daily content as soon as I publish it. Check the description for some more important information, links, how to contact me, all of that good stuff. And with all of that being said, comment, like, subscribe, remember to stay optimistic, and I will see all of you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bye!